What was the topic for today again?
New Year's resolutions, and that's as far as we got, I think, though.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Get yourself a drink and some snacks to start chilling with Ken and Cosmo. You are now listening to Tune In and Chill.
Good. Let me grab a mint here.
Just got to stay fresh.
Gotta stay fresh, man. They got some really strong mints in Japan. I'm glad.
Like the mint taste, or just how strong it is?
Fucking strong. Yeah, anyways. All right, let's get started. What is going on? What is going on, Cosmo? Long time no see. Well, actually, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're in 2021. What is this? Day 11 now? Day 12 of the new year? Something
13,
like that?
13. Well, my 13 years 12, right?
Whatever. Close enough. Close enough.
Yeah.
Still feels kind of the same. I'm not going to lie. Nothing too
That's
crazy.
what I said. I was like 2021 is not going to really change that much. Not mentally yet. It's like not yet.
I think the first part of 2021 is going to be very similar, but as soon as we hit Q2, Q3, that's when like the general, or hopefully the vaccinations and stuff for COVID-19 are going to really start to be more widespread, and things are going to slowly start looking a little bit be more open. I wouldn't say normal, but a little bit more relaxed, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I'd like to take the shot once it's available. I'm down. Like, sign me up.
Are you just like very confident in the scientists and stuff behind it? Is that why? Or are you just like, fuck it, I just want it?
A little bit of both. I trust that the scientists that have spent countless days, countless hours, the past year, working on this thing, when the thousands and thousands of people that are testing it.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, let's just do it. It's like two unknowns. It's like, do you want to gamble it on COVID, or do you want to gamble it on a vaccine that has been tested on hundreds of thousands of people? They've got people that have the doses right now. Like, at least it's been studied, Yeah. And it's not a new technology it's not as new as everyone makes it out to be. Like, they've been working on this for many years. So
I think there's also the fact of, how there's like a lot of news around the fact that there's a lot of people have so-called like reactions, side effects.
Yeah.
Right. But I just feel like these side effects and stuff are so blown out of proportion to the point where, not the media doesn't portray the whole story. They only portray the story of, hey, there's a side effect, you should not take it. And that's what the media is pushing for. But then you don't realize how many people have actually gotten it, because they don't put that record out. They don't say this much people have taken it, and these are the percentage of the people that are incurring side effects.
That's because good news doesn't sell. The bad news, you put that thing full blast on the front page, people will click on that.
Yeah, exactly. So, what can you do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think politics has a huge play in this, and that's why it's like it's really bad, I think, to play politics with people's lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where I just don't get it. It's money, politics, and everything that's involved. Yeah. So I'm like, whatever. I just give it to me. I'm like you. Like, I'm just kind of like, just give it to me already, so I can live on with my life.
I'm ready to go traveling, man. I want to go back to the bar, grab a nice drink, hang out with some friends, eat some food. Like, it really makes you like think about all the simple things in life.
Right.
that you can't do, or just being or that worry of are you going to catch the virus when you sit down and go eat, order takeout, go to the mall, you need to buy something.
Yeah.
Like the simple things
so.
just completely gone.
Right. I think the other thing is like you need to just keep in mind that even if you take the vaccine, let's say right, but it doesn't really mean that it's a cure, so you could still host the virus. Mm-hmm. And so this is the scary part, I think, is like when people get it, there's going to be countless of people who are just going to be like, okay, this is it for masks. Throw it in the garbage. I'm just going to go out and I'm like virus free, right? But then there's people who didn't take it, or anti-vaxxers or whatever, right? And so this is where the virus can still spread even if you have the vaccine. And I think people need to just kind of realize that a little bit more and be a bit more careful even if they got the vaccine.
Oh, for sure. Like just because you get the vaccine doesn't mean you can take your mask off. You're going to have to still be distant, still wash your hands, wear the mask. At least until the majority of the population's been vaccinated.
Right. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Because I think for travel, you need to have like some type of form or proof that you got some vaccines for some countries.
Some countries, including Canada right now. If you want to come into Canada, you have to show a negative test result before coming in.
Right. Yeah. So that's life. What can you do, right?
Yeah.
We're living in a time where we could literally, tell our nephews, our nieces, our kids in the future and be like, this is a life literally that we lived in, and this is the result because of it. But it is what it is. What can you do?
Speaking of New Year, though, what's that thing that everyone loves to do when that date rolls over? They love to make a list, that New Year's resolution list. And how many times do people actually stick to it? I think the majority of people, after the first month or two, it just like sharp decline.
It's literally the one thing that people always say is, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
And that's like the spark of like gym memberships skyrocket.
What's funny is I used to work at the gym, and I remember after New Year's, our gym membership just like boom, just skyrocketed. and then after about February, March, once April hit, then you just see the decline there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you think the average length period of a New Year's resolution is?
Honestly, I think it's just a month.
A month.
I'd say a month.
I was thinking like 2 weeks.
I think people will try it for a month.
Yeah.
But like the first 2 weeks is good. And then like week 3, it's like you're doing it, but you're not doing it properly. And then by the 4th, like the last week, you're just kind of like just doing it. Yeah. And then once you roll into the next month, you're like, screw this.
Right.
Like it starts off strong in that month, and then the quality of effort just goes down.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, what is the initial cause of it, but I think one of the causes can be the fact that, when you are starting off the new year by having that type of, I want to work out and lose weight type of, schedule, you are included in the rest of the group, not knowing, these other people, but you have this kind of group mentality of other people saying, oh yeah, they're going to go to the gym. So you're kind of motivated because other people are motivated to go to the gym to work out. But then the realization they have is, one, it's really hard work. 2 is they don't have actually anyone to go with. And 3, some people may have people to go with, but then they start dropping out. So then they will drop out later. So it's kind of like, a little bit of that herd mentality in a sense where you do things together, but then when one person or more drop, then you start doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why it kind of drops. But I don't know. For me, I've never been a type of person for like New Year's resolution for working out. I think it's more of a habit thing for me. Like trying to get rid of a habit or something.
That's been on my list for I don't know how many years. It's gone to the point where I'm just like, what's your New Year's resolution? It'll be to finish last year's New Year's resolution.
Well, okay. Well, like let's say 2021. What is your New Year's resolution?
I think the big one for 2021 is going to be like taking care of my health. You know, yes, it's been on that list of like for many years, you know, physical, you know, going to the gym. And, you know, I think mental health, especially during this pandemic, is very important. Yeah. I think people are underrating that. And it's a very serious thing.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, I don't want to add too many things because, you know, I'm not going to do it if you keep adding too many things, is trying to get a reasonable consistency with, you know, content creation, you know, video uploads, photo uploads.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple. Just the more you add to the list, the more things don't get done.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, like health is definitely the most important thing for sure.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think, oh man, I think I gained a belly out of this freaking pandemic. That's what I think. But yeah, I think for me, working out is one thing. But sticking to my content creation as well. But for me, it's a little different because this year I wanted to accomplish something a little bit different in terms of like my channel. And because we're both doing photography and videography, it's, you know, we're in the same niche. But I feel like, and I'm not really, I said this in my other previous videos on my own channel, but I feel like there is a certain trend that's going on with our niche right now. And the quality is just getting that much better within our niche, like the video production level. And I think that's due to many different reasons, but also it's because of those higher ranked people within a niche, like the Peter McKinnon, the Matty Hapoyas, the Daniel Schiffers, and you have all these people that are millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers, but they have obviously the equipment, the team to be able to do all these things. So as a singular person who doesn't have an extra editor to edit the videos, who doesn't have another person to hold the camera, this is a year that I want to kind of create content that is more focused towards a little bit more storytelling. That is either through movie trailers, like doing a little short skits or here and there, but that's all going to be filmed by myself. Now, that's a hard thing to do, but I kind of want to give motivation to the people who are starting, because not a lot of people have the resources to have a friend at a moment's notice to be like, hey, I need you to film today for me. Don't have the cash to fork out to pay an editor on an hourly basis. So I kind of want to give motivation to those people who are creating content by themselves, for themselves, but yet still be able to tell a story, still be able to do some of the high production value stuff that is on YouTube right now. So that is my goal. But that kind of hinders what I'm doing currently. Well, what I was doing last year was doing 2 videos a week. So I kind of wanted to keep maintaining 2 videos a week, but I'm not sure if I can do that because I'm going to be putting more time into production value. So I may be becoming once a week type of thing. So I don't know. There's some channels on there that are once every 2 weeks in our niche. But their production's like, oh my God. Like they put so much time into the video, I can tell. So yeah, that's kind of like where I want to head with my direction of my channel.
I just want to start posting. Get consistent.
Yeah. Well, that's one like huge thing about YouTube is being consistent.
Yeah. That's my biggest hurdle, just being consistent. Once you get consistent, then I can focus on making sure the quality just goes up.
Yeah.
Because the thing now is the barrier to entry is super low. Anyone can do this now. And the fact that the prices of, mirrorless cameras, DSLRs, and the quality of phone cameras, everything's just gone up and the price of everything has gone down. That means more and more people are able to jump in.
That is true. That's true.
The pie is huge and there's still a lot of room taking a piece of that pie.
Yeah. I think I watched Mr. Beast's YouTube rewind, because last year there wasn't a rewind for YouTube, which they do every single year. So Mr. Beast made his own, and I forgot how many people went over 1 million. I think it was big number. It was over 100,000 people went over 1 million as of last year. And obviously last year would have been the year that everyone would have started YouTube channel, because everyone's at home. So people are naturally thinking, I want to take advantage of the people who are at home that are bored as fuck. So they're like, okay, I'll create one. But then, like a New Year's resolution, they're falling down like dead flies out of the sky. One by one, everyone started quitting. And so it left people like us to be able to have a window to be able to still do a well-populated niche, but yet still gain subscribers, Well,
when you think about it, 100,000 people, that's not a lot of people. That's still a very small part of the pie.
Correct. Yes.
In the grand scheme of thing, out of the millions and millions and millions and millions of, YouTube people out there, that's a very small number.
Yeah. That is very true. But I think with New Year's resolution is the whole concept of it is being consistent, keeping up with, just aside from YouTube and being consistent with YouTube, it's just being consistent with yourself, having an actual routine to do it, but then the motivation has to be there as well. And I think where things go wrong for people with YouTube especially is the motivation to do a YouTube channel for the money is the wrong way of going about it. And that's why a lot of people start quitting, because they don't see the results right away. A lot of people get disappointed because, I've done YouTube for half a year and I only got 100 subscribers, and then I see this all the time. I see it on Facebook groups and everything. They're like, how should I, what am I doing wrong? I've been doing YouTube for a year and I've only got 500 subscribers. And a lot of people are like, well, YouTube is a game of long term. And if you're not in it for the long term, and if you're just thinking about money for short term, you're not going to get what you want, because your content's going to suck, because you're only thinking about the money. The entire time you're thinking about money. So when you start loving your craft, loving what you do, loving your niche that you're in, that is when things kind of fall naturally into place, because people can see right through you, in a sense that you're lying about you loving this certain topic. So that's where I think is you got to find your niche that you love doing, whether you're talented in a certain area or you just actually love doing it every single day. If this was your last job that you can have on this earth, to do it every single day for the next 50 years, would this be the topic that you want to cover? And that's the question I asked myself when I wanted to do this. And I was like, yeah, I love photography. I love filmmaking, and something that I would probably never have done unless it was for the pandemic. So kind of blessing in disguise. But yeah, that's kind of where I come from with this whole thing. But I don't know. What about you? For you to, I guess, besides your lifestyle of continuing on fitness and stuff, for you, if it's being consistent with content, then what are you going to do in terms of being consistent, I guess? Maybe some people can relate to it if they're listening to this.
Well, I'm going to attempt and start creating a schedule. I think that would probably be the easiest thing to do. So, for example, bring up a calendar and be like, okay, if I want to post, let's say once a week or once every 2 weeks, we'll make, Saturday my content creation day. And then that way I dedicate one day of the week just to film something or take a photo of something. And I think that's the simplest way of doing it without the way I feel about it is the more things you add to do, the less you want to do it.
Right.
Like if you look at a list, like if someone's like, hey, Ken, I need you to do this, and you see like 100 different things on a list, you're probably like, man, that's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Versus seeing a list with like 2 or 3 things on there. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
You do the first thing, and it's like, okay, well, there's only 2 left. Boom. I'm on the third one. But when you see like 100, it's like, okay, you'll start doing 1, 2, 3, and then like it gets harder.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of being a procrastinator, and that's my biggest downfall.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that is a very good idea.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
I try and dedicate, a day, like one day to just, even if it's just an hour or 2, just to take some photos or video.
Yeah. And I think even just starting off as a content creator of any kind, you should be practicing what you do, right? That's one. And then because you're supposed to be you're portraying to people as if you are a professional in your field, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you're not, even if you never got like a license or you went to school for or whatever, you're trying to provide information to people. You're trying to educate people in some type of way. So I think that's very important when it comes to how you present yourself to people, and how you, like, if you're not consistent with yourself, then you can't really tell other people to be consistent. Hang on one sec. I was going to ask you a question, but I forgot what it was. Yeah. Oh, okay. I have a question for you. Okay. This is a question I think you can ask any creator of any niche, but it's a question that I would ask probably a person who's been doing, like, who's already started YouTube.
Yeah.
Is if you had the option, you still do. Okay. Not saying that you don't have an option now, but if you had the option, would you change the direction of your current channel to something else that you've always wanted to do? Like, because some people create channels and they're like, okay, it's a success, but it's not something I love doing anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, I think at this stage of the game, I haven't put out enough content to have a direction right now.
Right.
So,
okay,
but
totally understand.
But let's look for the direction I'm currently trying to go, though, is that filmmaking, photography, content creator aspect route. And I would continue on that path.
Okay. So, like, if you were to continue on this path, would it be something that's you would try to, are you trying to still figure out, I guess, in a sense of your style?
Yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I mean, sometimes it pops in my head, ooh, what about being a tech reviewer? But
yeah, you got like Marquez Brownlee and like Lou Later, who's like dominating that space. But the amount of information that they have to process, that's when I'm like, maybe I'm not cut out for it. But
it gets very, very factual very fast.
Yeah.
So
okay, well, I understand. That's totally understandable. Would you say, like, again, you have, like, you just started a channel basically in a sense, and you're trying to get it more consistent. What would you do this year to be able to create content, but to try to find your own style? Like, I'm guessing there's a lot of people that are trying to find their own style within our niche, right? But obviously, a lot of people just start off with watching Peter McKinnon and the Daniel Schiffers and Sam Colder. And they start to be like, okay, maybe they copy some stuff. They take some bits and pieces from different creators and they come up with their own thing. But some people just come up with it naturally. Like, they have this natural instinct of being original from the very beginning. How would you go about it, or how are you going about it for trying to become original?
Well, honestly, you know what they say, right? You gotta you take ideas from people that inspire you, and then you try to put your own twist on it. So you're not just doing a carbon copy, because that's just played out copying.
Right.
But I think in the beginning, when you're trying to learn, like, I think the only way to do it is to actually do a carbon copy. Like, if you were learning how to paint, for example, you don't know how to paint, right? Like, here's a paintbrush, here's your colors. If you don't know how to mix it, you can't make your own thing. In the beginning, you're probably going to follow a tutorial, how to paint a house, how to paint, a winter scene. Once you've done enough tutorials, now you're like, okay, I know how to make, a couple of different nature scenes or whatever. Now, without following a tutorial, you can draw one in your mind. So I'm thinking it's probably gonna be the same thing with the video. So once you've followed, a few different, videos on how to, shoot, film, come up with something, then instead of following the tutorial, you'll take bits and pieces from different tutorials from different people and mix it in with your own ideas. I think that's probably the most realistic way of going about it.
Right. Yeah. And I think like probably 90% of the people are going to be going that route. So, yeah, that's very realistic. I think so. And I think... Sorry?
I was going to say, and at this point in time, I think it's almost impossible to be truly original. Everything is inspired by something at this point.
Right.
Like everything.
I think so.
Even the top movies of today, they just fall back on stories from like the 40s. If like they just go way back.
And to be honest, last year, because of COVID, there was an entire wave of creators, but yet also within our niche, this whole B-roll thing was like a huge thing last year. I think I noticed it more last year than the previous year of 2018, but or 2019, sorry. And then I was like, wow, this B-roll thing's taking over. Like, it just went from what is the difference between A-roll and B-roll? And that was like the beginning part of the whole series. And then they're like, okay, now Daniel Schiffer made like a commercial B-roll. And then you have Peter McKinnon, who's doing cinematic B-roll, and everything just became, now people are searching how to do cinematic B-roll. What is cinematic? Like all these search terms, right? And mind you, these things have already existed before these guys even started creating. They just made it more mainstream by using a platform like YouTube to a wider variety of audiences. But these B-rolls and stuff were used in movies a long time ago. Just people in the industry never said, what is a B-roll? What is an A-roll? No one know. Like, they're like, what is an A-roll? What is a B-roll? Now, and then some people are saying like, it's like a fucking sushi roll. You know what I was thinking? The first time I was like, oh, A-roll, B-roll. And I was like, is there a C-roll? But maybe you're the person to create the C-roll. But I was saying like it was a thing that made it mainstream, and now people are. This is where I'm saying there's a change in direction. Sorry, I didn't really continue on what I was saying there. So there's a change in direction, I think, with our niche, and this is totally just my opinion. Not saying that it's happening, but from what I've been watching, all the top content creators within our niche are starting to not fade away from B-roll. Like they're still including B-roll would always be a thing, it was just more enhanced. But I just feel like there's more higher production value that's going into some of the other content creators as far as they're switching from doing just regular talking head type of videos to storytelling, movie trailers, cinematic B-roll, like just more movie style. More doing commercials and going into bigger production because they're getting hired. They're getting noticed on YouTube. It's like their whole portfolio. You don't need to freaking hand in the resume anymore. Just goes, take a look at my YouTube. Take a look at my Instagram. And so these people are just getting more commercial work, I think, as a YouTuber. never straying away from that, still vlogging at the commercial sets like Peter McKinnon did with his Hyundai commercial. So I think this is where the direction is heading. And that's why it's not like because I want to follow the trend, I want to go into that direction. It's more like I kind of want to, because the B-roll segment has been so overplayed, I think it's just way overrated. But yet you still have to use it within your video, right? But instead of saying cinematic B-roll video of, I would just be like, here's a movie trailer. Here's a short, segment. So that's the direction I want to head into. But we'll see how it goes, because obviously, limited to equipment, limited to budget and stuff. Sure, I can complain about that, but you can still create content no matter what your budget is and what your ability to content create with a phone or camera. So I think that is a direction that people might head into after this whole B-roll fever is over with.
I think a big part of this B-roll stuff is a lot of it's all in slow motion. I think you're going to start seeing a lot of B-roll that's in real time.
Right.
Because a lot of these videos that are like cinematic B-roll, it's all slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
Which, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love, and I'm still going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to start to see some different like speeds. That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's not just going to be all slow motion for B-roll.
Right. I think there's a video that I wanted to do. I just never had the time to do it because it takes a little bit of time to get all the footages. But basically doing different types of B-rolls that people are going to get into that is straying away from slow motion. Because you can do, it was all about, I want the most stable footage. I need a gimbal, to do that slow motion so I don't have to use stabilization, like artificial stabilization in post-process. So people are buying gimbals or like putting active steady on and being really stable, having OSS on their lenses or in-body stabilization on their cameras. And they would try to get the smoothest footage. And don't get me wrong, smooth footage is nice, but depending on the moment, depending on what you're trying to portray to the audience, some camera shake is actually a good thing, especially when it comes to like sports, right? Sports or people that are dancing. You kind of want that like in the moment, not use a wide angle lens to do it, but use a more of a closer up, like 30 mil, 24 mil, 50 mil to be able to catch in closer to the action and have that camera shake while the boxer is like punching or like while the crowd is dancing, and you see that a lot in the movies, but people don't use it when it comes to, them doing their YouTube thing as a growing channel or whatever, because they're scared to use it. They don't know when to use it, I think. And they're just so like having slow-mo B-roll footage is so easy to do. So
I just want to say we've been talking about B-roll for the past 20 minutes, but we haven't actually explained what is B-roll.
Right.
For the viewers that don't know.
For the viewers that don't know. Okay, can you explain what a B-roll is?
I think the simplest or the easiest way to explain it is so you have there's A-roll and B-roll. Okay. So let's try and set this up in the most simplest way possible.
Not sushi, by the way.
not sushi. So let's say you wanted to film a scene of you making coffee. Okay. Just everyone's using the coffee example, so let's just play with it. Yeah. So the scene consists of a wide lens, and it's got you walking up there, getting to your coffee machine, pouring your beans in, pushing the button, and the coffee's making its coffee, and then once you're done, you grab your coffee cup, walk out and drink it. Now that's all one shot, and it's kind of boring to watch that all play out. So instead, what you could do is you have your wide, you've introduced what's going on. Now you'll switch into either like a tighter shot of you pouring the beans in. And that is called a B-roll, because you're now, it's an addition to your A-roll, which is the first shot. and then you get a shot, of the coffee dripping down. It's filling up your cup. And when you're picking your cup to drink it, you have a close up. Basically, all B-roll is your shots that cut into the action or out of the action from your main sequence. It's the details.
Right. Yes, exactly.
I don't know. That was my jab at trying to explain it.
Yeah, it is basically the filler shots that tell the story of whoever your subject is or whatever your subject is. The point A to B and all the filler in between, so the person that's watching knows where this person is going or where this person is, what's happening. So you're not just like lost in translation, because without that, like you said, you would lose interest in the actual sequence. So essentially B-roll helps tell the story, other than the A-roll shots or dialogue of like a character or a person that you're watching in a movie. So great job.
I think it's all very important. It's just you got to strategically use everything.
Correct. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that just use way too much wide shots of everything. Like they use like one lens or one focal length to do everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like, a lot of people's favorite lenses is like the 16 mil or the 24 mil. And they do everything with that, which is okay. It's okay to do, but it's more of like, you get your wide shot where you're like, okay, here's the environment. We're at a coffee shop or a cafe. Okay, now we know where the character is. Now you want to go inside the place, and then maybe you take a little bit of a closer medium shot of the person coming to the counter. And then you'll have a close-up of maybe him taking money out of his wallet and giving it to the cashier. And then it'll be another wide shot of him going and taking a seat. Like this kind of constant in, out. But in a very like, you don't also want to make these sequences so small to the point where, okay, you really didn't need to put a B-roll there because we kind of knew where this was going. You know what I mean? Like some people put way too much in there. They're like, okay, we need to get him to open the door to the cafe. Okay, we need to film him with a step into the cafe. Then we need to show him come to the counter. Then we need to show him take the order. Now take the money. Now, all these like intricacies. And it just like, sometimes it's way too much. So it's a fair balance of this. And this is where experience can only come to define how, good you are at these things.
I think it just comes back to story is king. And if that B-roll shot helps you tell the story, you keep it. Mm-hmm. If it makes it unnecessary, you take it out. Right.
And I think if you start off with one type of like segment, like if you do put a lot of intricate details into it, and if that's your style, then that's totally fine. But it becomes an issue when that's not consistent throughout the entire film, And it was just that one segment that had all those details. And then the rest of it was like very slow. What happened to all the details, So being consistent within your own work is a key to making a good story as well. So anyways, that's what B-roll is for those of you that don't know. And pretty much I think, anyways, where we were headed with that was basically B-roll would be something that is still existing. I just think that it's not going to be as focused this year than it was last year. So
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's an exciting new year, where it's just starting. I mean, I still remember 2020.
It'll always feel like it's just yesterday. That's the thing.
Yeah, it literally just feels like just yesterday. It's an exciting year, Hopefully we can stick to our New Year's resolutions. And hopefully you guys out there that are listening or watching are able to as well. I think 2021 is just going to continue with an increased trend of content creation. And the digital space, especially as we've seen a lot of people working from home now as well.
All right.
So that's been pretty big shift. So that digital space is just increasingly growing.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the resolutions for us. I mean, if any of you guys have your own resolutions, comment down below and we'll get to them. And it'll be interesting to see other people's, like other content creators' resolutions and see where everyone's kind of head is at for this year, because it is the year that things may go back somewhat to normal, which may, in retrospect, decrease the amount of viewers on YouTube more than so last year. Because people are going to be outside more, they're going to be spending time with other people. Maybe if, God forbid, the vaccine works and everything is slowly going back to said normal. But I just feel like this year is going to be just like any other regular year if everything goes well. And there's going to be more people that are trying to grow their channels. So, yeah.
So, now go ahead.
No, I thought you had something to say there.
Oh, no, I'm just going to say, it looks like my camera's about to overheat. So I'm just seeing that little flashing. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I can't really see.
We got
so far away.
We got the A7 III up in here, which seems to have this issue sometimes. I didn't know it did. But anyways, well, before that.
Yeah, if it's on recording too long, in a closed room, there's not, air circulating, especially when you're shooting 4K.
Yeah.
Nonstop, it'll get hot.
All right. Well, with that note, I guess we'll get going. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do so and turn on those notifications if you have, if you want more notifications for our show. And smash that like button. Okay.
And if you're listening to us on one of the podcasts, just hit that follow button.
Sounds good.
Until next time.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.